On this edition, I'm going to recap the UFC on Fox 4 card that took place last night. Now, it was a breath of fresh air to see the UFC on Fox finally deliver. I mean, I'm not. This is no discredit to the cards in the past, but the card last night was absolutely flawless. For if you're trying to one, keep old fans happy, and two, attract new fans to the sport of mixed martial art, that's exactly what the card last night accomplished. So hats off to the UFC for putting together an absolutely outstanding card, and obviously hats off to the fighters for going in there and putting on a show for the fans. So I'm going to do just going to recap the fights, mostly the main card. But I mean, in regards to prelims, Nam fan Cole Miller, I thought it was a good fight. In regards to it, is fan showed outstanding boxing, and Cole Miller did absolutely everything he could. Started fighting his reach much better in the second round. I think the one thing people, I mean, fans said he thought he won 30-27. People said they thought Fan won 30-27. I saw it as a 29-28 win by Fan, unanimous. I didn't see it as a split decision. I saw Cole Miller winning the second round. I mean, the strikes were actually very close in the second round. I think it was because Cole Miller started to fight his reach better, started throwing a 1-2, started really bringing it to Nam Fan. But split decision, absolutely not. 30-27, I personally didn't see it. I thought it was 29-28. I think Nam Fan definitely won the fight unanimous fashion, and definitely a good fight by both fighters. Moving on to the main card, the first fight was DeMarcus Johnson versus Mike Swick. Obviously, Mike Swick making his long-awaited return back to the octagon. It's been 2.5 years. The guy's been plagued by everything. Good to see Swick back. I mean, and this fight was outstanding. I mean, Swick came out and set the tone early. Good 1-2. I think he landed his first his right hand 5 times to start the fight. His 1-2 was landing at will. Then Johnson took the fight down to the ground and started implementing some ground and pound. Started locking in some submissions. I mean, Mike Swick was definitely in trouble a couple of times. Really good submission defense. I mean, anybody else, I mean, DeMarcus Johnson could have very well caught anybody in there. I mean, he was working very hard for the submissions. Second round, they come out. A little bit of the same story, but then out of nowhere, I mean, DeMarcus Johnson goes to throw a kick. Swick catches it, sends Johnson down to the deck, and lands some big strikes down the ground. I think I tweeted it was very similar to the Lyoto Machida knockout of Thiago Silva. Just a devastating knockout. Obviously, this was a good fight. It was a little bit of everything. It wasn't too long. It wasn't too short. And obviously finished in decisive fashion with the highlight reel knockout. Welcome back, Mike Swick. I mean, the guy's been through so much in 2.5 years, and it's good to see him come back and be successful. Not to mention that, but also humble in victory. So good to see Mike Swick back. Hopefully we see good things from both Johnson and Swick moving forward. This is the one thing, too, is that each fight continued to up the ante. They almost seemed to get better and better. Every fight continued to get the excitement level went through the roof with this UFC on Fox card. I think my friend turned to me and goes, wait, you're telling me after that fight we get to watch Lauzon versus Varner? And he was just started laughing. It was just everything seemed to get better and better with this card. And Lauzon and Varner was just a battle. It was a war, just like Vera and Shogun. I mean, Lauzon and Varner went to war. They did absolutely everything. It was a little bit of everything. I mean, in the stand-up department, Jamie Varner really set the tone early with his strikes, and then everything that Varner seemed to have for Lauzon seemed to answer back and give it right back to Varner. I mean, Varner has like no purpose punches. The guy puts absolutely everything he has behind it. It just hits with such bad intentions. And he did very well in the stand-up department. Lauzon's counter strike, he caught some big elbows. I mean, and Varner continued to press the pace time and time again. And every time he was put down to the ground, Lauzon had him a couple of times on the ground, but Varner seemed to. There was a lot of fight in both guys. I mean, it was just they always seemed to have an answer for each other. And the thing about it is that outstanding fight, most definitely worthy of fight of the night. I mean, there were a couple fights that were worthy, but most definitely worthy of fight of the night. And then this is classic Joe Lauzon. You can never count the guy out. I mean, I think he was definitely winning in regards to points, but I mean, gets down, he reverses Varner on top, gets down, works in a submission, tries multiple submissions, finally locks in. And Varner did everything imaginable to try and get out of it, but Lauzon's a human Venus flytrap. If he gets you, I mean, never count him out. He's always there. He's always a threat to finish the fight, and that's exactly what he did. Joe Lauzon once again wins submission of the night in impressive fashion. Also fight that. I mean, Joe Lauzon absolutely kills it with bonuses. I mean, that guy could retire early with the bonuses that he does, but it's all reflective of what he does in the octagon, and that's the type of fighter Joe Lauzon is. So hats off to Varner. Varner and Joe Lauzon for delivering fight of the night and also submission of the night by Lauzon. Moving on to the next fight was Lyoto Machida versus Ryan Bader, and this fight was very one-sided. Wrestler versus karate striker, and Machida just looked on a whole other level. I know people have been saying that Machida hasn't won a fight since Rashad Evans, and I mean technically they could have a point there. I mean, but they want to bring up the whole Randy Couture thing and all that other stuff. But I mean, Lyoto Machida, it was a flawless victory by Machida. Ryan Bader was telegraphing his strikes, and this is no discredit to Ryan Bader. He tried to do everything he could. Would have liked to see more takedowns from him in the wrestling department, but I mean, Machida was so unpredictable. He's always been so unpredictable in the stamp. He changed his stance. He went from orthodox to southpaw, an open stance. He was throwing leg kicks. I mean, and this is the one thing that bugs me is that people are saying Ryan Bader was scared. I mean, stop. This is the word that gets thrown out way too much in the MMA community and just in MMA in general. Is that, oh, they're scared. He has no idea what to do. Try using the word hesitant. These guys are professionals. These ladies and guys are professionals. This is what they're paid to do. If they were terrified to do it, they wouldn't do it. Okay, so Ryan Bader was not scared. Ryan Bader was hesitant. It's happened to plenty of fighters in the past with Lyoto Machida. So stop throwing out the word scared. That's absolutely ridiculous. And obviously, I mean, the way it was finished. I mean, Machida had an answer for everything. Bader couldn't land his right. Bader couldn't. Just everything that Bader tried to do, just it wasn't working for him, and it was unfortunate. But then he charges forward, tries to throw. I mean, puts the left forward, then tries to land the right. I mean, he walked right into Lyoto Machida's straight right. I mean, that's Machida's bread and butter in regards to his hands, and it sends Bader down. Bader was out cold. I mean, Machida it was absolutely flawless performance, impressive performance by Lyoto Machida, and obviously Dana White let Lyoto Machida know that he was the next person to receive a title fight and get the winner of John Jones versus Dan Henderson. So I think Lyoto Machida is most definitely worthy, and I hate to say that. I mean, given the fact of what Shogun Hua did in the main event as well. So I'm going to touch up on that in a little bit. Obviously, congratulations to Lyoto Machida. Hopefully we get to see Ryan Bader back and better than ever. So the main event of the night was Brandon Vera versus Shogun Hua, and a lot of people are counting Brandon Vera out, myself included. I mean, Brandon Vera filled in mostly because Shogun Hua versus Glover Teixeira never happened. But Brandon Vera exceeded all expectations. I mean, he made it a fight, and obviously it takes two to fight. And it wasn't just Brandon Vera. Shogun Hua was doing just as much as Brandon Vera was, and Brandon Vera did everything imaginable to win that fight. And Shogun Hua came out strong. Both guys came out strong. Shogun Hua utilized a little bit more grappling than people were expecting. But I mean, as my friend says, like, oh well, Shogun Hua's grappling. It's like people forget that Shogun Hua's actually got a really good top game. He's black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, good in ground and pound. So I mean, it made sense to take him down to the ground and almost wear out Brandon Vera. But I mean, Shogun Hua, was dominating in the stand-up, was working the grappling well. He almost got caught in a guillotine. He had this big energy dump, and this is what we heard more in the press conference about. Instead of Shogun Hua's victory, more about his endurance and how he had looked fatigued later on in the fight. But other than that, I mean, Shogun Hua, Brandon Vera started to really bring it to Shogun when Shogun Hua looked fatigued. I mean, throwing a lot of combinations, working his leg kicks well. He almost caught Shogun in submission, but Shogun worked out of it. And Shogun Hua, he did not. There was no quit. Shogun Hua's fought like that. I mean, it's like he's fought his entire career. I mean, he's practically impossible to put away. And Brandon Vera, a lot of fight. Was very hard to put away too. Shogun Hua threw everything he had at him. Ended up getting the better of Brandon Vera, setting him down, finishing via knockout. A really good fight. I mean, this one could have definitely been up for fight of the night. This is a war as well. Actually, this one defines what a war is in mixed martial arts. I mean, the guys were pushed to their limits. I mean, went into championship rounds exhausted, but left it all out there, and they delivered most definitely. But the one thing I'd say is that Lyoto Machida may get the title shot. It was a flawless performance, but Shogun Hua definitely made a strong case for himself as well. If Machida's fight wasn't on that card, Shogun Hua would have most definitely gotten a title fight. Maybe would have just had the stress working on his conditioning a little bit more. But, the guy still won the fight. And that's the one thing is that Dana White sung the praises of Brandon Vera at the end of the fight. It's like in the press conference, you would have never known that Shogun Hua had won that fight. And Brandon Vera deserved all the credit in the world, given the fact that people wrote him off and said that he had no chance, a majority of people. But, Shogun Hua did win that fight. I think Brandon Vera deserves the credit, but I think Shogun Hua deserved a little bit more than, oh, you looked fatigued in that fight. So I think you could definitely see it in Shogun's face. And Shogun Hua continued to do what he always does, and he always comes out when the dust settles and clears. Shogun Hua comes out on top. Outstanding fight. But between the card as a whole, just absolutely outstanding. This was a card that not only makes fans of MMA happy, but also turns people into mixed martial arts fans. So that's my recap on the UFC on Fox 4 card. That's why for this edition, it's Kyle Delaney signing off. I'm out of here.